Hi, Misha here, and I've been doing videos on the main channel about guns, and mostly tank videos on this channel, and I wanted to take a break, so let's talk about a Star Trek model from Eaglemoss, a die-cast model to be exact, and this is, I think, issue 7 in the Star Trek Universe collection, kind of their current one, featuring so far mostly ships from Picard. This is the Wallenberg starship, Wallenberg tug, Wallenberg passenger liner, and this one seems to be the Uss Hercules, although it's not marked, although we also saw the USS Nightingale. And these were built as part of the fleet over Mars to evacuate Romulans before their sun go boom. And we don't know, I don't think they said how many were being built, but dozens, hundreds. And it was a good vessel for that. So I wanted to look at the features of it a little bit, and I brought out the inquiry class because I do see a good design lineage. Now we'll talk about this more because now Eaglemoss is doing the variants, so I'm excited when those come in to talk about the variants, but I do see some commonalities here with these ships. And this design did not start with the fleet over Mars, but it was selected from existing starship designs and is very well suited. So yeah, we'll look at the features of the model, construction, and compare it. The Inquiry class here is pretty much the top of the line for Starfleet in the 2390s. It is a smaller ship than what we've seen before, like the Sovereign of Galaxy. It's about 630 meters tip to tip, and of course more narrow. It's also streamlined to work with a smaller crew of about 500. The Sovereign had about 750, and the Galaxy had over 1,000. Makes sense, automation, and it has kind of a smooth yet angular design. In some ways, the smooth texture that we see on these ships does remind me of the original Constitution class. And this Wallenberg, to me, it seems kind of from the same fleet. Maybe at first, maybe it doesn't, but I'll point out a few things. Now, this is a much smaller design. Without its cargo pods, it's just under 300 meters. I don't know of a crew, but it would probably be pretty small. The other tugs we've seen in Star Trek, like the one in Deep Space Nine, they had a very small crew. So I can't imagine it has all that many people on board. It doesn't have a saucer. I will say that kind of the look of it almost seems like something from Battlestar Galactica. Think about it. They kind of squared off front and then flaring out. If these nacelles were flight pods, do you see it? I mean, I don't know. It seems like a BSG ship in some ways. So it might seem a little odd for Starfleet at first, but the lines are there. Essentially, they took the saucer and they trimmed it back. If you look up here at this step down leading back to the bridge, you see that same structure here, including a phaser array up here, and then a bridge module, and then there's a connective module here, and then coming back, and of course we have typical warp nacelles. Now, this version of the Inquiry has the nacelles going up. There is a variant where they sling down like this, and we've seen underslung nacelles all throughout Star Trek. The coloration of this, the kind of orangey yellow, is intentional to try to make it look more like a construction or utilitarian ship, because the whole notion behind it, it's to haul cargo pods, or in the case of the Romulan evacuation, passenger pods, kind of like a train or ship container. And it looks like there's a bracket up here something could be attached to, but the main connector is this pallet here. This segmented strip is meant to have pods attached to it, and they can trail back behind the ship quite a ways. And this is something that we've seen since the old FASA Starfleet battle days, with like the Ptolemy and Saladin classes and everything. It's just nothing new. Flipping these over, we can kind of see the Inquiry has this very distinctive deflector. A lot of us aren't crazy about it, but that's something that it has. And you kind of see a similar deflector arrangement here. Obviously much smaller and different, but you can tell it's using the same technology, same systems. Again, essentially they just took the saucer and trimmed it back and made this from being a saucer section to just kind of a drive section. These tubes here, we've seen these on other Starfleet tugs and shuttle tugs. They seem to be tractor beam, like heavy scale tractor beam emitters and manipulators. The old Deep Space Nine one has these, plus it has actual pincers. This one doesn't have that, but it's for a little bit different role. And again, we have kind of a Voyager style cutout on the Inquiry, and it's mirrored here. It's like they just cut along that line going to the deflector and a bridge module. Very streamlined looking bridge. And it too is probably highly automated. So yeah, the notion is that this would be a tugboat or a locomotive in space, able to provide warp power to quite a large cargo container or passenger cabin. And again, I wonder if something could be mounted up here because there's some kind of bracket. Not sure. Looks like there is. I don't know if that's supposed to be an impulse engine or if these are the impulse engine manifolds and this is supposed to be a shuttle bay. Not rightly sure. And there's quite a bit of stuff going on at the front. And these are a little more industrial looking warp nacelles compared with the Inquiry. Of course, this is an older design. It's still post Nemesis, but yeah. But these were decided on because they could be built quickly and efficiently, and they did want to give them basic protection. Again, phaser strip, shield emitters. Otherwise, they'd be sitting ducks. Looking at you, Cardassians. Don't trust you still. But yeah, as far as the name, it's been widely published that it's named after Raoul Wallenberg. He was born in Sweden, was an architect and diplomat, and he was sent to Hungary during World War II on behest of Sweden, and he declared quite a few Swedish properties, essentially safe houses for Jews. No one knows how many he rescued, but several thousand. Some say as many as 100,000, but that's probably not likely. So it wasn't directly, well, it was in a way, I guess directly against the Nazis, because in the beginning, Hungary was very anti-Zionist, anti-Jewish, but in 1944, they started to switch sides, and then the Nazis invaded. It's a whole thing. You can read about it. But he rescued some, and for his troubles, he was detained and then imprisoned by the basically Nazis matter the names, by the communists, the Gestapo, if they had, the MKTV, the secret police, and he died in captivity sometime in the 1940s. No one really knows. So it wasn't actually the Nazis who killed him. And we don't know if he actually was killed or died of sickness, but the only reason I've read that he might have been detained is he was actually also working for the Americans as I don't want to say spy, but source of information. And he did go to school in America, so who knows. Interesting enough historical character, and actually what he did, his name, his position in history actually fits the purpose behind Picard and this fleet. And, you know, something's got to have a name. Plus, Wallenberg, just taken in the abstract, does kind of fit a tug or a passenger liner. Certainly not a very military-sounding name. So, what about this model from Eaglemoss here? Like all of them, it's a mix of die-cast metal and ABS plastics, type of polymerized PVC. The saucer is metal, the drive section and pad are the plastic. So it's mostly weighted up front. It's relatively light. It's not the lightest, but it's a good size, all things considered. It's got some interesting detailing going on. It's a little more of an industrial look. Like I said, it's got something going on the front here. The nacelles have some, and the pad is here. It would have been really neat if it had detachable modules, but that's just not how Eaglemoss rolls. It's actually very thin. Comes with the typical stand, weighted base, and it does, move you up here a bit, it does fit on the stand pretty nicely. Some of these fit a little loose. They don't fall off, but they just kind of cradle in there. This one actually slides on easily. You can get it off, but yeah, it sits in there pretty well and isn't going anywhere. So it's one of the better mounts in the Universe collection, I feel. It isn't one I was just super duper excited to get. I mostly was interested in the Romulan ships from this collection and the Inquiry class. But once I finally picked it up, which I picked up on a Christmas sale, I like it better than I thought I would. I really do. It's unique. And it doesn't look Starfleet at first, but once you kind of really think about it, it does. It just looks modified. It certainly looks more Starfleet than the tug we saw in Deep Space Nine. It looks more intentional, less kit bashy together. No, I think it's good. I think it's actually nice that they actually made a ship for the fleet. And this is one that it makes sense that they would have hundreds of the same design. Unlike the Inquiry fleet at the end of Picard, which was a little ridiculous to have so many of the same type. This one you would expect to be uniform and standardized, because that's exactly what they're... It's kind of like a Victory or a Liberty ship from World War II. You know, just mass-produced, not junk, but made cheap and fast as possible by, well, robots in this case, unskilled labor in the case of the USA and Britain. So yeah, I'm pleasantly surprised how nice it is, frankly. It's kind of interesting, and as I've said in several videos, I kind of like the support ships and the workaday ships, the merchants and everything. Battleships are great, but these are the kind of things you would probably see just poking around space on a day-to-day basis. These are the pickup trucks and minivans, and I guess this one might be more like the 18-wheelers, but so yeah, thought I'd do a little video sharing this with you and comparing to the Inquiry, because I definitely see that this is the hot rod of the fleet, and this is the jalopy, but you can kind of tell they came from the same factory or same general design era, I guess you'd say. So let me know what you think. Yeah, like I said, it's in its stand really good. Whereas this one, it doesn't fall out, but it just kind of is, just cradled in there gently. It's fine. Either way works. But this one is just not going to get knocked off. Well, with that, I better get back to my real job. Appreciate you hanging out and tuning in a bit. As always, I hope I got something on camera for you. I noticed with these Star Trek videos, I have to remind people more that I'm blind. When I do tank videos or gun videos, people seem to be a little more understanding. So yeah, just did what I could do. But if you could, please like, share, and subscribe, and maybe check out other things I've done. Hope everyone had a good holiday. This is Misha. Catch you very soon. Next time.